To get us started this morning, again, I'm sorry because of the sake of time, we're a few minutes after, so I'm not going to do my full intro to Tech Hub, but hopefully we've got some new people on this morning as well. I already recognize some of the faces, but South Florida Tech Hub, we are a technology nonprofit. We're based obviously here in South Florida, so we cover the geographic region of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and actually just recently had our first event in Martin County. So we're pushing out into the Treasure Coast now as well. And we basically work with local startups, enterprise companies, other nonprofits, higher education institutions, anybody that's kind of connected in the technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship realm to drop some helpful website links and everything in the chat for everybody that's here this morning. But again, to go ahead and get started, I want to introduce our panelists and our discussion for this morning. We have our very cool topic this morning, because I don't think we've done this before, on creating content, and how to monetize content. So we've known for years and years and years, people talk about content is king, right? We've all heard that. And we've all, know about podcasts and social media, and there's all these different forms of content that could be created. Content creation has changed over the years. It's an add-on to what their companies are already doing in the normal marketing realm, but now it's becoming an everyday, and it's becoming something that's evolving over the years, and where you can actually not only make, money for your business, but you can actually make money through content and for your clients that way. So we're going to talk to our three panelists this morning that are each working in different areas of content creation, to find out a little bit about that, how they're doing it, and how hopefully their expertise and advice can help everybody as well. So I'm going to ask each of you to just real quickly introduce yourselves, and then we'll get right into the questions. So I'm just going to pick on who is first on my screen, which, Jason, that is you. Jason, can you hear me?
Yes. I was taking out my earbud. Can you hear me now?
Problem. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jason Hill with the OWL platform. OWL's the first platform that you can connect instantly through private one-on-one audio calls. And my background is I have over 300 podcast episodes on the Shrimp Tank podcast, as well as the OWL podcast, that have all been completed in person. So what really separates us is the in-person aspect, where we're able to meet guests like Gio. Gio's been on my podcast as an example. I've been on his. And how cool is it that we're able to form a true relationship in person, but then additionally get all the content, right? We're able to take photos together. Other people that are friends with Gio then immediately think to themselves like, ooh, that's so interesting. I want to be on the Shrimp Tank as well, because they see photos of us, at FAU College of Business. And we also partner with them. So that's another part of the process, which I'll talk about a little later. But yeah, podcasting is obviously multi-factor, scenario where you could get a couple things done at once. And I'll talk a lot more in detail about that later on. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. And Brenny, I've got you up next.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rennie, and I am the Assistant Creative Manager at Digital Resource. We are a full digital marketing agency located in downtown West Palm. And, we help all kinds of businesses really with their marketing efforts, whether you're doing digital campaigns, whether you're doing, multimedia, just content writing, email marketing, all kinds of digital and marketing efforts, we can help you with that.
Awesome, thank you. And last but not least, Gio.
Hi, this is Gio, CEO of Stream Media. So we help every single content creator distribute, engage, and monetize their content, right? And let's analyze who the content creators are. Everybody, right? Everybody's creating content. Everybody should be creating content. If you find it difficult, we have some fantastic solution that we created in-house, technology in-house to help you do what? Distribute, engage, and monetize your content. It's all made here in South Florida.
Perfect. Thank you, each of you, for introducing yourselves. I'm going to, if you don't mind, Brenny, I'm going to pick on you first for the first question. Ladies first. So I wanted to see if you can talk a little bit about what you all do, meaning Digital Resource, when it comes to your content creation for your clients, and what types of content mediums do you guys work with?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, we work with, an array of businesses. So when it comes to content and like what kind of mediums do we do, anything that can help you advance in your marketing efforts and meet your goals, it's something that we are gonna take a shot at. So, when it comes to multimedia, whether that's video, photo, UGC ads, voice overs, and just like sound, that's something that we can produce. We also do content writing. So you have your blogs, just gets articles, white papers, and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to just like the writing portion, that is something that we also take care of. Email marketing to help you with your promotions, just, support your brand awareness and try to like close into the conversion. And just create some revenue. That's something that we like to help businesses with. And email marketing, it's something that we really, really have gotten into over the last, I would say, 3 years. It's something that, you put a little bit of money into it and you can take a lot of in return. You can take a lot of money in return. And the way that we do that is with content writing, just trying to make it sound personable, like you're talking to your users.
Perfect. And you said a couple of things. I mean, the first thing obviously is you alluded there to how we can actually use all this to make money, which is great because that's the content of this morning. Yeah. But also is you used an acronym there, just UGC. I know what it means, but just in case for the people that are listening, can you explain what that acronym stands for and what that means?
Yes, so that is going to be user-generated content. And the name, it's very straightforward, right? Is content that is generated and created by the user. Businesses and brands take advantage of this greatly because it's something that you don't really have to invest in. All you have to do is create that relationship, and then your users will do the rest for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jason, so my next question is for you. So we already heard that you have a podcast, right? We know Gio's got a podcast as well. So a lot of people have podcasts, right? So everybody and their brother says, I have a podcast, I have a podcast. Tell us what's the difference about your podcast? Why has Shrimp Tank been so successful for you?
Yeah, so the first thing I will say is the partnership of, collaborating with the FEU College of Business. That has been huge to leverage that brand name. Lots of times people forget there's so many partners in town that you could collaborate with. For example, Tech Hub, right? Someone could approach Tech Hub and say, hey, we'd love to collaborate with you, Nikki, take all the work off your shoulders, and pretty much have you come to a local studio once a week. And all of a sudden, like Tech Hub has a $20,000 studio and all you have to do is be the co-host. So right off the bat, I think that you could start by collaborating with different nonprofits or colleges around town. That's a huge leverage piece because a lot of them see it as a win-win. The second thing is the in-person experience that separates us. 99 out of 100 podcasts are online. When it's done in person, it is a lot harder, right? Because you have to get the guests to show up on time and really have great processes to get them, on track to start your show every week the same time. Plus, you then need a producer behind the scenes, hitting all the controls with the podcast equipment. But the results are phenomenal because that's what separates you from the pack, right? I was able, in a short period of time from moving from New York to Florida, I've met over 300 entrepreneurs that have been filmed in person in our studios. And when I look back at those relationships, that would be very difficult to have achieved without a podcast. Podcast puts them under the spotlight, and everyone is very thankful that has been on our show because we have such a unique show where people get an hour of film, they get content after every single episode, they get a great backlink on our website. We don't stop with just the podcast. We end up putting it up on the website. We put their bio up there and it lives up there as well. So a lot of people really respect what we have done. but then it also leads to having a valuable, network where you could rely on. I have 300 cell phone contacts that I could text right now and put on an event in 1 minute. I could literally text out 300 people, hey, we're having a happy hour and I'm looking for 6 speakers. And that's what we did at the Boca Center event recently, where I was able to go after CEO of Celsius Beverage, Tints World, Erica's Plumbing, Ellivale Jewelry SA Company. And it was phenomenal because I just texted people. So I think that the value is how you pull off the experience. And I think that goes right back to content creation, right? Everyone can throw a lot of junk up at the wall and just hope that one of them does well, versus you have certain content creators that spend 50 hours on one single 1 minute video. And we've seen that with, folks like Mr. Beast on a high level, which have a valuation of over $1 billion worth of content right now in his YouTube channel, for example. So I would just say, separate yourself from the pack, be a little bit more unique, and then the results will come. That's been, my history with the Shrimp Tank and also the Owl podcast now, which is going down a whole other aspect of influencer marketing, and it's working out great. We've had some very large influencers join us on the Owl podcast now, and that's attacking more national, content creation, network at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point and kind of a segue into, Geo, because, Jason, you do your podcast in person. So you're building a lot of those in-person relationships that you can use later for like when you're doing your events and things like that. You mentioned the happy hours. And Geo, you have a wonderful podcast as well, but you're getting a lot of people that are, international folks that are all over the country, everywhere, because you're doing it completely virtual, right? So you're kind of the opposite. So can you talk a little bit about your podcast and how you've been able to be successful with yours?
Yeah, and a couple of things, first of all, Jason's podcast is fantastic. It's a great experience that he's created. So I recommend anybody to check it out. Not only the interview process, the post is also fantastic, how he promotes it. And then another plug into the Owl platform, which I think is just a fantastic concept. If you want to get in touch, get advices from anybody out there on different topics, download the Owl app that Jason has created. A fantastic concept, and it's definitely going to grow. I think it's like LinkedIn on steroids. That's the way I look at it. For us, we wanted to make podcasting easy, and it's more video podcasts. Video is what drives the storytelling, right? So during COVID, we're a video streaming company, and we wanted to make it really easy for anybody to start a video podcast from anywhere, right? So you can do it locally in your studio. You can use our technology to do that, or you can start it from wherever, your bedroom, and then have guests come in from any parts of the world. But then we didn't stop there, so video podcasting is just the technology that we created. But then what happens, for example, to this session that we're having? Well, it's going to be a link somewhere and somebody's got to find it. Well, we've taken it a step further. So anything that gets recorded as a video on our platform, then automatically will create a channel. So you'll have all your videos that you've created into this, weeks for video, let's say, but automatic. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to upload. For example, this session will be exactly on your new channel. And then let's say you start getting into the routine, and the fact that if you're able to do more than 100 episodes or your video podcast, that means you got the process. And the process is key, right? Once you have the process, it's addicting. People want to come on the show. You want them to come on and tell their stories. And everybody should be telling their story. If you're not, sorry, you're not marketing. You're just not marketing your product, your company. And one of our big mentors is Gary Vee. We've been on his show before. And if you hear what he says, it's all about video. And again, you don't have to even talk about your product, but talk about your journey. So after through our technology, you're creating this video experience, and then automatically it gets created into a channel. But then let's say you grow after a year, you want to monetize it. Just with one click, you can create a subscription-based channel or a pay-per-view channel. So all of a sudden, all the hard work that you're putting into your content creation has a value. And the other aspect of the value is the users, right? The users that come into your platform, You get to collect all the data. So for us, as a tech company, it was, let's make it really easy for people to create more video content and distribute it everywhere. But let's also help them understand who their audience is. So you get all the data of the users that are signing up and then monetize. And again, the message is, if you're not, using this type of technology, and again, it doesn't have to be video podcast. It could be a seminar. It could be interviews, right? We have the famous Nadia that makes the micro interviews. But what happens to those interviews? Sometimes they get lost on social media. But what if you have them all created into one channel that then people can go back to and see where exactly they are? So don't get lost in the social media content creation wagon. It's crazy. It's out there. Which platform should I use? Should I use TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram? But build your own brand. And this is the first steps of doing that, right? That's the problem that we're trying to solve.
Awesome. And Rennie, I wanted to ask you, because basically right now, everything that Gio and Jason are talking about is going back to what you said earlier with that first question, the user generated content.
Yeah.
And, there's a statistic out there saying that like 96% of people don't trust general ads. They see an ad and they're like, oh, it's just some sleazy sales ad. Like, a lot of it is like 25% off, or it's this,
Yeah.
So it's changed over the last, decade or so, and now even more in the last 3 to 5 years. So can you talk a little bit about why user generated content and why using video, why that's so important? Because a lot of people are scared to do that. I've had a lot of people ask me, I don't even know how to like start posting on LinkedIn or creating my own content, or, oh my God, heaven forbid, I'm even like in a video, let alone post my own, content. So can you talk a little bit about why it's so important?
Yeah. I think the reason why most people tend to be shy from the idea of creating content with video, it's because we think that we have to be this picture perfect, shiny and crispy, beautiful image all the time. And what user generated content does is the opposite. Right? Like you see someone at home, you see a real person, they are living their life and they're using this product. They're not necessarily trying to sell you on the product. And it's something that Gio was mentioning about your story. They're trying to sell you on their experience. They're giving you a preview of their experience with this product, so you can kind of create an idea of, okay, I can have a similar experience to that. Actually, this answers some of the questions that I had. I did wonder what the product would feel like on my skin, and this person is letting me know what that feels like. So user-generated content can really support your marketing efforts because it's really high-performing content. Like Gio was talking about video and how, nowadays pretty much everything is gearing toward creating video content. When you can see someone that looks like you, and that talks like you, and that's very much human, you feel a connection. And that is what you need in, nowadays in marketing to sell, because the, Gen Zers, millennials, Gen X, they're a little bit more cynical about the ads, right? Like, yeah, I know you're trying to sell me that 25% off sale, like your ad, it's right there on my face. But when I see someone that looks like me, sounds like me, and they're just sharing an experience, I'm like, you know what? I actually might go and give them a chance, because this person won't be lying. Like, I wouldn't lie to myself, type of thing. So user-generated content, it's almost like a mirror that shows the user or the consumers that are in the consideration stage of your funnel, you know what, this is something worth trying, because someone that looked like me let me know that it's worth trying, which is why it's really important for your content to be diverse. If you're selling a product or a service, or you have a brand that serves to, a diverse group of people, make sure that the interactions and the content that you're creating speak to all of those people. Like, you have to, like Gio also, I think you mentioned, kind of gathering the data and, learning about your audience and all of that. You have to create content that speaks to all of them in order for you to learn about them. That's the only way that you're gonna know, okay, they like this type of topic, they don't like this topic, they really don't care for this offer. That's another thing, right? Like we try to generalize and just make one big offering for everybody. And when it comes to today's marketing, your offering has to feel special and has to feel very personable. And even though you and I are getting the same thing, we need to feel like we're not necessarily getting the same thing. So like we're all getting our needs met by this business, by this service, by this product. And that is the quickest way to convert, really. It's by speaking to the consumers, learning about what they like, creating content that will speak to them, and like will solidify and answer those questions and doubt in the consideration state. And then they will be ready to make that conversion.
I was going to say you had a nugget, but then I think you had like 5 nuggets in there. So one of the things that you had mentioned was even just the age of a lot of the people, like where user generated content is coming from. And I do think it's the younger generations that are really pushing that envelope. But I'm curious, just for, I guess, all 3 of you, are you seeing, because I can only assume, and I'm genuinely asking this question, is that I can only assume it's the younger folks that are kind of jumping on it much faster and more open to it. But are you seeing any of the generations that are used to your normal types of marketing and your normal ads that are also jumping onto using this new technology or really paying attention to this type of content? Do you see a difference in generationally?
I think it depends on the brand and the service, right? Like, but there are brands, like let's say in the beauty industry, that are speaking to like a more mature audience. They're definitely gearing up on UGC. The younger generation kind of like push that forward, but everybody else has to kind of fall in line because it is proven to be a way to convert, like I mentioned already, people will trust people. And when you're sharing your experience, when you're sharing your likes and your preferences or your dislikes, or just your pain points about a business and all of that, it creates that validation that some consumers are looking for.
Yeah, I can say something about that. We're strong believers in UGC, right? So we use the UGC into some other the products that we have, and it does. It creates it's the TikTok type, right? TikTok is about user generated content. People are watching more content made by users than by professional advertisers, right? So you do want to create that type of relationship with the end user where you can show brands, you can show your face through the eyes of the end user that is telling a story. And how do you find the people that can do user generated content, right? So you got to get out there. You have to create a network. Look what Jason is doing. Jason comes from New York all the way down to Miami to Florida and starts building his own network. How do you do that? What's your value proposition, right? To be able to do that. What's the brand that you're trying to create? What type of content creators are you adding into your network? So those are all the homework that you have to do as you're approaching a content creation strategy. So when we go back is, we go back to the brands that we work with and we say, okay, in this content world, let's divide it into 4 pillars, right? So what's your KPIs for content, right? First of all, content gets divided between live content and video on demand content, right? And the third one is user generated content. So to every enterprise that is listening right now, what's your strategy on live streaming? Well, I don't have one. Well, live streaming sells, right? Live streaming sells. Live streaming is what people jump on, especially in the media world. You have a live streaming event, everybody's jumping on. You have a recorded event, it's not as exciting, right? And then you have video on demand, which is the second one I talked about, which is not as exciting. So you want to do live. You want to have that as your strategy for content creation. And the third one is UGC. You have the end users create stories around your brands or involve them into that creation. But again, so we divide it into content, live, on demand, and then you have UGC. And then after you're creating all this content is distribution. So Digital Resource talked about email marketing, talked about different ways for you to get that distribution out to your specific segmented audience. So always segment your audience. That's super important. But you have to distribute that content. You can't just throw it out there and then it's dead. You have to distribute it. You have to share that experience. And it's not going to be the first month that you realize it was a hit or not. I'm sure Jesus got, was not a big hit his first month around, right? It takes time, right? It takes time. And then once you are consistent in your content creation strategy, you're building out these verticals and this strong distribution strategy. And then you have to engage. Now you start to get better or bigger or more entertaining topics of your content, right? And that's the engagement piece. So maybe you start using, again, new technologies that allow people to come in and feel part of the show, right? Let's ask questions right now, Zoom people. And then people start asking questions, or let's play a game. Whatever it is, you need to entertainment. Otherwise, they're going to go somewhere else. With all of that, again, so think of it as you're thinking of your content strategy. Start with content, live, on demand, the UGC. Distribution, where am I going to put that content? Engagement, how am I going to engage? And it's not all at the same time. And then, do I even want to monetize? Or the result is monetization anyway, because somehow that brand is going to come back and buy some other service from you. Make sense?
Yeah, those are all great points. I think something that I caught that both of you kind of were mirroring each other with was, I think a lot of it is a targeted audience and knowing who your audience is and then being consistent with it. Because I know, to your point, Gio, a lot of people will say, well, I've tried, or I've posted this, or I posted that, but they do it once or twice here and there. They're not consistent. And then they assume that people are just going to see it because they're posting it somewhere. But I feel like with you guys, with all of you guys, I know, with Digital Resource, I love going to you guys' page because you guys have been really great about even just internally promoting your different staff, and you guys always do really fun videos and it's just entertaining to watch. And even Gio's very similarly, you always have some really cool, interesting person that's on. You always have a game at the end or fun, quick questions at the end, or there's always something to kind of catch your interest. And, I feel like that's something that all of you guys do, even with Jason, your podcast, you always have really interesting people that are on there. And I think it's the storytelling behind it that catches people and keeps their interest. And you guys are all very consistent with it. I did want to talk a little bit about, Jason, this is for you, is because I know we've been talking a lot about just general content and being consistent with it and pushing it out. But something that you've done, because I know that's more of what you're doing with the shrimp tank, but can you talk a little bit about Owl for the people that don't know what that is? Because that's totally different types of content creation. That's more, again, user generated from person to person. But can you talk about what that platform is?
Yeah, absolutely. And to piggyback what everyone was just saying, it is so much about the execution after you put a lot of content together, and then what to do with all this content that you have. And part of that is just being consistent with your schedule, right? A lot of times people are like, oh, I'm just going to do it whenever because I have content in my phone, and then weeks go by and you forget. And then other episodes pile on top of one another. And before you know it, you're like, oh my God, I didn't post all these different episodes, and you feel overwhelmed. So one thing that we do that's very specific on our shows is we post the guests the day before, we post the day of, and we have it going in multiple sources, which Gio's platform does a phenomenal job of doing that, which is making it easy for people that aren't, as good with their schedule and posting everywhere. And when it comes to Owl, we had to literally execute that, very wisely, right? Because when you're building a platform like Owl, you're going after LinkedIn, right? Like Gio said earlier, it's LinkedIn on steroids. I want people to see that, LinkedIn is a phenomenal tool, but it's kind of outdated, right? It's too hard to get in touch and network with people today one-on-one. And most people using LinkedIn, that's the design of it. It's to post and then eventually shoot a message and create some type of collaboration or opportunity through the inbox and jump on Zoom or grab a coffee in person, whatever it might be. And what we had to do with Owl is we had to attack it from multiple directions when it came to marketing. And what we did was we created a brand ambassador program, an affiliate program. We could partner with organizations as well as people and make those people feel part of this amazing community from the ground up. And we have that. We have over 50 brand ambassadors who create content every single week. And what's really unique is when you search like hashtag Owl app or Owl, you'll see all this content showing up on all different platforms. Some people are stronger on TikTok. Some are stronger on Instagram. Some are stronger on LinkedIn, of course. And now we have other apps out there like Clapper, I'm starting to see. Of course, we have apps like Clubhouse, which are great because people could speak in large rooms about Owl and really explain what the benefits are and what has come from their situation, talking one-on-one with people. But it was really difficult in the early days. I had to literally put content out all the time myself, my team, and I even leveraged my podcast. I got folks like Gio and I built it in. I said, hey, Gio, the best part about being on the Shrimp Tank is that the people who listen to this episode are going to get to call you next week on the Owl platform. There is no other podcast that allows their audience to speak with you one-on-one directly and pick your brain about any conversation we talked about, and it could lead to other collaborations. So literally, we built that into both podcasts, the Shrimp Tank and the Owl podcast. I had to do different things on the Owl podcast where we get testimonial videos from every single guest that joins us about why they like the Owl platform. And you know, you have to really experiment. I've tried so many different things for Owl, and you know, everyone warned me that 99% of platforms that are two-sided fail. Very expensive to build, but even more expensive to market. So we had to have such a unique marketing mechanism in place, and we are doing everything. Rennie was talking about email marketing. We do that. We have a newsletter that goes out consistently. We have promos. I am selling all the time. You have no choice but to have a great call to action no matter what. I think too often we see post after post with no call to action, right? At the end of the day, whatever business you're in, it should have an end goal, right? It should have some part of the process. And as simple as like the Shrimp Tank, I made that being a featured expert on Owl platform the week after, right? And it had nothing to do with the Shrimp Tank at first. And I just built it in because I realized we needed a better call to action. But when you look at a lot of my posts, no matter what I do in the comments, I'll always put, and also if you want to download Owl, here's the link and here's a referral code to get $10. And even when I'm on Zoom meetings like this, I'm always mentioning, hey, for showing up, I'm going to be a little bit more unique. And I'll do this right now on the spot. Everyone who downloads Owl today, you'll receive $10 no matter what when you sign up. But in the comments, just put other when it asks you on the welcome screen, how did you hear about Owl? And I'll give you another $25 bonus on top of that, right? So that's $35 to have some fun on Owl, to connect with folks like Gio one-on-one and pick his brain about anything you talked about during today's podcast, right? So Gio will go live in the next week. Just ping him, you know, and request to speak with him. And that's the value, is just always having a call to action and being there for your community at the end of the day. I think that's something you cannot fake. That's something I see you do, Nikki, every single week, is just being there. Same with Jeffrey. I saw him last week at the Tech Hub event. Is just showing up and being who you are. And it doesn't matter if I'm sitting here doing a podcast on vacation on the beach right here, right? It's just like, be who you are. You don't always have to fake it all the time. And Rennie just spoke to that. It's like people can tell the fakes apart now. If you're doing a fake video and you're just selling, it doesn't work. But if you are who you are, people are going to be attracted to that. So I think it comes from all different levels. But at the end of the day, have a plan and execute that plan and keep working on better ways to execute, you know, at all different times. That's my 2 points.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I'm glad you actually brought it back to Rennie's comment, because I know for me personally, all the people that I love following are all the ones that are real. And I'm thinking right when you said that, I'm sure some of you follow her or know who she is, Shay Rowbottom on LinkedIn. Some people love her and some people hate her. I get it. She can be controversial. But actually what caught my attention was not even her business posts or things about what she was doing in the professional sense. I actually started following her way back when she was sharing her stories about depression and personal things. And so it kind of caught my attention, but that was because she was being very real. And then of course I started following her and she ended up being a great person to follow for business and a great, you know, a lot of great advice and things like that. But it was the realness about her that's what caught my attention in the first place before anything even relating to business. So I think that's a really great point. And I'm glad you brought that back, Jason. Brenny, I did have a question for you was, so Jason had made the point when he was speaking just now about all the different types of platforms that are out there.
Yeah.
I know, obviously Gio and Jason, they have their platforms for their business. And of course, I'm sure they're using a ton of different platforms to promote their businesses on. But I'm curious just with what you do, because you're working with so many different clients and you guys are also on so many different platforms.
Yeah.
I don't even think the one that Jason just mentioned, Clapper, I don't even know what that is. So I feel like there's so many different platforms out there, and people can get really overwhelmed easy with saying, especially if this is not something that comes natural to them, where the heck do I start? Which ones are better for me? Is there any advice for people just getting started with this that are saying, okay, I'm on the main ones. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know where else to go. Like, how does one choose what platforms to start with and what content to start putting on those platforms?
Absolutely. So something that Gio mentioned earlier and that I really like was the idea of creating your brand, right? You need to find a centralized location or place where all of your content is going to live, whether that's a website, a landing page, one of your social media profiles, but you need to find a way to redirect people to this one place where they essentially can always find you and always find your content. If you want that to be a website, let's say you're already on the three big, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you want to redirect people to your website. You want to always, make some sort of offering that it's going to take them back to the website. And that offering can be something as simple as educational content. One thing that people want to be entertained, but a lot of people also want to be educated, right? Like, it's been a long time since we went to school. People tend to forget things, or they feel like they didn't learn the valuable things in school. So giving them little bits and pieces of educational content and then redirecting them to, if you want to learn more, go find me here. That it's a way that, you can kind of start to increase and build up that data about your audience and start to learn what they care about. And also just, being consistent. Don't think that just because you did the thing today and you did it tomorrow and that is enough. You do have to put a little bit of work into it. And I think that at least 3 months, it's a fair timeline to start to see some progress and start to build on that relationship and start to redirect people to the right channels. Because you can have 1 million followers all across social media, but if you cannot find a way to link everybody to the same place or send them to the same location, it's going to be very difficult to convert anybody and actually build up a customer base rather than just a following base.
Yeah, I think, and Brenny, something that you were just talking about with the data, all three of you have mentioned that at one point, is, I know for me, that's even something that we started paying more and more attention to, and that we've been trying to get better at as an organization, just at Tech Hub, because the data, if you really look at it, can tell you a lot. And I think sometimes people ignore that they feel like, okay, if I create the right content and I post it on the right platform and I do it every day, it's just going to work. But a lot of times we have to look at the data and see what it's actually telling us.
Yes.
Can you, I guess this is for any of you, can you talk a little bit about some of the data that you pay attention to and some of the data that's even out there? Like what can people look for?
So at first glance, right, we are very data driven and social media is very number focused. How many followers do you have? How many likes do you get? But nowadays the data is being looked at different in terms of engagement. How engaging is your following? Are they really liking the content that you're putting out? Are they resonating with that? Because you can double tap on things, right? But now we're trying to look at a little bit deeper. Are they engaging? Are they commenting? Are they asking questions? Are they going, are they following the CTAs that you're attaching to the emails or the videos? These are other aspects of the data that we're looking at because that's where the real story is. the number of people that are following you, you know, like sometimes people will follow by accident. Like, I don't know if it's happened to any of you where you're like, wait, when did I even follow this page? And it's like, well, maybe you were just scrolling and you hit follow by accident, but it's been a little bit more intentional, the way that we're looking at the data, the number of impressions, but also the length of the engagement, right? Because you have, let's say someone visits your website, like how long was that session? Like how long were they on your website until they were able to find what they were looking for? Or did they just click and left your website? Let's say if we're looking at email marketing per se, did they click to the location or to the place, the link that we wanted to send them to? How many people actually click on that, or how many unique clicks happen there? So there are, depending on where you are, whether it's like social media or like digital marketing, there are different aspects of the data, but the one I will say that it's really important to focus on, it's the engagement, and not so much on the numbers, because nowadays people are not focused on your numbers. It's very easy for a small brand to really pop out overnight, and it's all based on what kind of content and the engagement that they're having with their users.
No, those are all great points. And I have to shout out Ashley Williams in the chat, because she just put something in there that I love. We were talking earlier about the types of content, and she basically summarized it really well. She said, educate, inspire, entertain.
Yeah.
Very good, Ashley. I had a couple questions left for you guys. I know we got just about 10 minutes left. One thing that I noticed all three of your brands are really great with, and I see you, Gio, you do this a lot. Jason, you do this a ton, is not everybody is great about connecting in-person networking with the user-generated content. How can you do both? How can you intertwine your content and your in-person networking? I guess that's for whoever wants to answer it.
Record everything you do, right? Record every step of the journey or the situation. And maybe it's not you as well. Maybe you're not, as an enterprise, you don't have, or you need to find the people that can actually tell the story for you. So maybe it's not you as the CEO, maybe somebody else in the organization that can help you connect those dots, right? But again, video plays a huge part of your strategy, your content strategy. Content can also be only audio, right? So Spotify and the podcast, even though they're stepping back from just the audio world, Clubhouse is stepping back because people want to see more, right? That's also, I think, quite interesting. What's when you think of your content strategy and how it shifted after and during COVID, right? During COVID, a lot was Clubhouse. Everybody was hooked on it. And then right after COVID, I want to meet people. I want to see people. I want video again, or I want in person. So I think it's that combination of, don't be afraid to record, to show, to live stream every single action that you're doing, and then incorporate it with again, with interviews, with people coming in, with potential customers also making statements. So every time we go out, for example, and do a customer visit, we interview the customer. Sometimes we even record the sessions, and we ask them, obviously, hey, can we record the session? It's uncomfortable. Let me tell you, it's uncomfortable for everybody. But the value that you get back is huge, because then you can use some of those pieces of content to use it as testimonials that we talked about. But it also gets into this mode of creating an experience. Your brand is not just buy me, buy me, buy me. Is what's the experience that you're giving out when somebody purchases your product? And it should not just end there. It continues, it evolves, and that's what you're trying to create. You're trying to create experiences. You're trying to show people how you're leading and how your brand is living the journey.
Yeah, that's something that I noticed with you, Gio, is all your posts are they could be business, they could be personal, a little bit of everything. I'm actually thinking, as you were talking, one of my favorite posts you did was the one with coffee, your coffee mug.
Coffee.
Yeah, where you were saying something about like finding the best cup of coffee. And I don't know if you were going to a trip to Italy or what it was, but yeah, it always stuck in my brain and had nothing to do with your business, but it was just, it was always, your content is always very fun. It's always very engaging. And it's something that, you were talking about those real life moments, those little things. I think it humanizes you as well. And it makes you realize like, oh yeah, these people drink coffee and they have to get up in the morning and take a shower and put their pants on just like everybody else does. So those things make you, I think, view different brands and the people that are, are creating that brand a little differently. Takes away the sales aspect of it.
Nikki, I'll tell you another thing. You don't know what content hits with who, right? So
yeah, I'm sure you didn't think that I was going to say coffee.
No, that's what you made me think of. I didn't know that you saw that one, but that's the other thing. Sometimes you are, again, even as a brand, you might sit down and you might have a meeting, and that meeting, you have meetings over meetings over meetings because you're afraid to pull out some type of video content that might hit home for somebody else. So I also say quantity over quality, because with quantity, at some point, with consistency, you start to get better and you get quality. But if you never start, forget it. You never, because you want that perfect product to come out. So
fear of not being perfect. Yeah.
Right. Oh no, yeah, the signal doesn't look good. Oh my, we don't have great internet. Have you ever seen an Instagram live? It's never perfect. It fails all the time, right? But Instagram Live still exists and it still gives you that excitement, right? So don't be afraid to pull out content. Again, if you do it on a quantity basis, at some point you're going to get better. That's the goal of quantity versus quality. You're going to get quality in the long term, in the long run.
Jason, were you going to add something there? I saw you come off mute for a second.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a whole episode on networking, right? We don't discuss this topic enough, right? So many people go to an event with business cards and they just hand them out. My advice is take all your business cards and throw them in the garbage, right? That's just a safety play to kind of do something and hand it to them, but then nothing actually ends up happening. How many times you get an email or a call or a text message from anyone you've ever given your card to? It's very, very low. So my whole thing is grab your phone and literally connect with them on LinkedIn or Instagram and immediately put a comment in the message. Say, hey, we met at the Tech Hub event, while you're talking to them, right? So they're like, and I just tell people on the spot, I do this on purpose. So that way I always remember where I met you. So that way there's a trail, right? It acts as a client relationship software tool or CRM, right? And after a while, if you're like Gio, and you go to all these conventions, you're going to forget everyone where you met them, right? But if you have something as simple as just, listing where you met them in a feed like LinkedIn or Instagram, it's always a great way to look backwards and figure things out. Additionally, do something after you networked, right? I find too many people go to networking events just for the free alcohol or something, I guess, or food. And then they come out with zero results. Like, go there and take a couple photos, tag a couple people that you met. People never forget the way you made them feel. And that's such a huge component of it. You could post. And one of those times, somebody is going to have such impact that you tag them and always be a fan of your brand because of that, or other brands are not making them feel great, when they come to networking events at the end of the day. So I think, I lots of times people don't see like what makes businesses successful, and it's those little touches. And lots of times that relates back to Owl and the shrimp tank. When you look at how many people have joined Owl, it's because I'm networking and telling them on the spot, like, hey, check out this app. I grab my phone, I show it to them in person. I make a demo call with them in person, and they immediately visualize what it is when they see the app in person versus me just verbally speaking about it. And same with the shrimp tank. You know how many guests I've gotten? Like Gio is an example. He spoke on stage, and I went straight to Gio and I chatted with him, and I got his business card. And immediately that same week, I reached out and said, Gio, I'd love to have you on the podcast. And he actually reverse engineered. He got me. He's like, well, I want you on my podcast as well. So we both are similar, that we wanted to lead with opportunities and content creation. So we both, podcast swap. But the point is every time you go to a networking event is go with some purpose and leave, you know, with value at all times, being a giver. Great things will happen and great things will blossom. That's it.
Yeah, no, you guys are all making, you know, wonderful points. And as you're talking, Jason, too, I want to give a shout out to Nadia on our team, because that's something that, you know, one thing that she does, I think, Gio, you mentioned it earlier, is Nadia on our team has been doing these mini mic minutes at our different events. So we actually got rid of a lot of the, you know, normal content that we were doing at a lot of our conferences or when we have exhibit booths, and been doing mini mic minute sessions right at the exhibit table. And I can't tell you how much that's been helping, because people want to go, they want to be engaged, they want to see themselves later on social and a part of something. And I think it really does connect everybody. And I think I just saw somebody actually in chat put it really well too. I think Tracy, a shared experience. And so I think that's really what it's all about. So I think your last words there, Jason, were perfect. I'm looking at the time, we're like right at 9 o'clock. So try to stay on time with these. Thank you everybody for showing up. I appreciate Rennie, Jason, Gio, all of your expertise. Hopefully everybody will follow them on social and get to see their content like I do. But have a great day, everybody. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Nikki.
Bye. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Enjoy your day at the beach, Jason. Bye.
I am on
Bye-bye.
in New Jersey. There it is.
I see.
I had to hide from my family in the hotel room. So that's
There
why.
you go.
See you later. Peace.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.